Welcome to episode 85. Got here Wayne with me. Hello, my friend.
How's it going, brother? How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Can you let the listeners and audience know a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I have no hair on my head. Uh, I was born in the Cabbage Patch. No, just kidding. So originally born and raised in Montreal, Canada, Montreal, Quebec. Left Montreal in the very early 90s to move to Ontario. Started off my career in banking. After a short stint in the Army Reserves in Quebec, I moved to Ontario. Started off in banking, went back to school, studied computers at Humber College. Shout out to
Woo!
Humber Hawks, and was a part of student government when I was there. I was VP finance at the student government, kind of like having the budget and doing different things. If you are a
Yes.
Humber alumnus, you go to the gym, you'll see the bleachers there. I helped with the budget to get those bleachers in there. There's a clock tower at the North Campus. I also helped with the budget for that. So it was a very good time for me in the early 90s. A buddy of mine, well, not really a buddy, he was in the same class as I was, and he missed an exam. I took all my serious courses in night school and took all my fluff courses during the day because I wanted to meet people and network at night. So I would always dress up and go into night classes. And when we had coffee breaks, ask people what they did in industry because I was looking for work.
Yeah.
He found a job at his company that I could potentially do, but you had to be bilingual. And me being from Montreal, I could parlay
Perfect.
the Francais there, and I did my thing and started my career in IT. Fast forward about 5 years after a few moves, I meet a gentleman by the name of Robert Herjavec. And Robert Herjavec is a shark on Shark Tank, and
Oh,
today a
wow.
dragon on Dragon's Den. That's where he started. And he talked to me about Raptors tickets that he had bought, floor seats. He still has them. He bought these floor seats to the Raptors and didn't understand basketball because he was a soccer player
Hmm.
and didn't know the rules of basketball. So I was a coach, a player, and an official, a ref in basketball. So I knew the game. I explained it to him, and he said, "What do you do here?" I go, "I do second level bilingual Unix support." He goes, "You're in the wrong business." I go, "What business should I be in?" He goes, "You should be in sales." I go, "I don't have any sales experience." He goes, "You're in the wrong business." Long story
Yeah.
short, he calls me about 2 months later, and he asked me to come in for an interview. I go in for an interview. He gives me a psychological test for sales aptitude. I take the test, I write it, I get the results back. It shows 99. He goes, "What do you think about that, Wayne?" I go, "Here's a question I have. I go, 99 on what?" He goes, 99 on 100. He goes, "You're a salesman." He hands me a cell phone, a business card with my name already printed on it,
Damn.
and says, "Here's a contract." And for the amount of money that I was looking for at that time in my life, I wanted to make $50,000, my goal in life in 1997. And he offered me 50,000. He said, "You'll be able to double your money if you hit your quota and you sell these solutions." October 6th, 1997 was my first day. October 31st, I was number one salesperson in the company. And for the 2 years I was there, I was the number one guy. My wife and I could afford to have children. My son was born in 1998, thanks to working with Robert in 1997 and finding out that I had a gift that he saw in me that I didn't see in myself. Long story short, after a very powerful career in cybersecurity, working for small mom and pop companies like Deloitte and Touche,
Nice, still. Wow.
IBM, Alcatel, Microsoft, and Dell, put in 25 years serving very small, little homegrown businesses like TD, BMO, Canadian Tire, Loblaw, Rogers, and Bell. Those are my accounts. And I did that for 25 years and left that to do what I'm doing now.
Amazing, amazing. Let's take a different route. Let's take a dive through a little bit of memory lane. Like, let's talk about your childhood and how growing up was for you.
Well, growing up was Montreal in the 70s. I mean, snow up to your neck. Like it's December 1st, December 2nd, and and there's no snow. This is not what I'm used to as a child. Listen, we used to build snow forts. You couldn't tell which car was yours on the street because they were covered with like 3 feet of snow on top of them. And
Whoa.
you start digging and then find out it wasn't your car. And you're like, oh my God, it's not my car. It's the guy's neighbor's car. But you say, okay, I'll just keep going because he's a good guy. Listen, Montreal at that time was the epicenter of Canada's economy. Everything ran through Montreal when I was growing up. Nobody even knew what Toronto was back in the 70s. But then we had Parti Québécois come into power in 1976. They had their first referendum to separate from Canada in 1981, and that was the beginning of the end for Montreal and the advent of Toronto. So I grew up
Oh,
with both my parents for a short period of time, then with my mother. Then she died when I was 11 years old, and we ended up living with our father. And I stayed with him until I was 19, and I've been on my own from 19 till now. Played
wow.
basketball, went to school, was a pretty decent student, but not focused. So a lot of
Yeah.
talent, but not a lot of discipline. It's kind of my coming up, and now that I've added those things to my repertoire, life has been much better for me.
Wow. And what were some of the struggles growing up without your
Um,
mom and
there
like
were five struggles really. Money, 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 money. Did I mention money? Yeah,
yeah.
money. So when you have a single mom and she's doing everything she can and she passes away, you unlike your friends who have two-parent households, they have two incomes to depend on. The economic pressure on her was very, 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 very great, and the economic pressure on my father was very, very great. And I respect that now that I'm an adult and I have kids of my own and a wife of my own. I understand that these folks came to Canada with a hope and a dream. They spoke one language, it was not French. My mother learned it.
Yeah.
My father had a certificate in it, which is funny because he can't speak a lick of French. I don't know who passed him, but he must have paid somebody off. But he got a bilingual certificate and he kept his job that he had for 30 plus years. And he passed
Without
away
speaking
last
French?
year. And
Without speaking French? Yeah.
excuse me,
Without speaking French?
he kept the job because once you're in the union and you have seniority, they can't do anything, which is
Oh
why he
wow.
kept his job for as long as he did, because they would want to get rid of him, but they could not do anything about it because he was a senior guy in the union.
Cool. Wow. Wow. And so how was like some of the limiting beliefs and some of the things?
Well, limiting beliefs, those are self-imposed, but I can tell you that, I don't know if you notice, Yvon, but I'm black.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed. And Quebec is not black.
Yep.
Quebec is very, very white
White. Yeah.
and very, very French. And Yvon, I'm not French. So I had two strikes from day one. Certain jobs, I thought I'd be a great waiter. Couldn't be a waiter because my French wasn't strong enough. I thought I'd be a great banker. Couldn't be a banker in Quebec because my French wasn't strong enough, because I grew up in the English part of Quebec, which is the western part of Quebec, which controlled the economy at the time. So my parents, coming from English speaking islands in the Caribbean,
Yeah.
moved to the English speaking sector of Quebec because that's where they could get work,
Of course.
right? So we should have gone to French school, but we didn't. Now, do I understand French? 100%. Can I speak French? 100% no. But did I get jobs that were bilingual? Yes, because French, like anything, has subcultures. So when I worked at McDonald's, I knew McDonald's French. When I worked in computers, I knew computer French. When I worked at other restaurants, I learned restaurant French. So you speak to me in French in those three areas, I'm bilingual. But you talk to me
Ah.
about medicine or cars or something, trees, I can't help you,
Yeah.
right? So that's how I learned how to survive and beat my struggles. But I knew Quebec was not going to give me the opportunities. It was very interesting to get on an airplane at Pearson and fly to Montreal and go to buildings I was not able to go to when I lived there. But because I was Toronto, Wayne, coming into Montreal, I could
Yeah.
go and chair those meetings in English in Quebec
Yeah.
because I was a Toronto Wayne, not Montreal, Wayne. So interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And what were some of the joys in childhood you can remember?
Well, you know what? I tell you, up until 1978, I didn't have too many worries. After my mother passed in the summer of 78, things got a little real, and joy was there, but there was always this pressure of sadness because I missed her greatly, and living with my father was very different in how his approach to parenting than hers. So we were not only missing her, but missing her, the culture we had created with her when she was alive. So he got the short end of the stick because we were kind of
Yeah.
loyal to her and her memory. And it's not the message, it's the messenger. And he was the wrong messenger. We wanted her to deliver the message. She wasn't here to do it. And he had a hard time delivering his messages and didn't. And in that stage of his life and how he was parented, his generation, they're not really going to defer to the children per se and listen to what the children have to say. They're going to,
Yes.
they're going to strong arm their authority
Yep.
on us, and he did, and hindsight being 2020, I'm sure he um, would do things differently.
Yeah, of course, for sure. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Take us through like how was college? You said the student government.
Yeah, so I went to college in Montreal and I played basketball for the college, and then I left. I went to university in Montreal, and I got a BSc, Yvon.
Mm.
BSc, beer, sandwiches, and chips. All right, I got a
Yeah.
BSc, beer sandwich. I partied my butt off in university, and they told me, please leave. You're
Oh
not
God.
serious. And I flunked out of university, and I joined the army to numb myself. I was so embarrassed because I was a very good, strong student in primary school, high school, and even in college. I was pretty strong. But once I got to university, the lack of discipline really caught up with me. I didn't have any study habits. I was just had a very good memory, so I could memorize things. But these guys were going through a chapter, a class, and I couldn't catch up with my reading, and I didn't have a plan, and I was working two jobs. And anyway, long story short, um, did not work out for me. University. In the end, I ended up going back and getting a postgraduate in information technology about
Oh,
10
okay.
years ago. But I went back to get the paper more so to prove to my kids that, you get a piece of paper shows the discipline to get through. So both of my kids have postgraduate degrees, or one has one, the other one's going to be finished next semester. So
So the
we more than
discipline
made
did
up
it.
for it academically.
Awesome. But the discipline did that come through joining the army, or how were you able to develop that discipline that you needed?
Yeah, the army was, from the outside looking in, very organized, very disciplined. Not so much. These were a lot of guys who were lost, who didn't know what they wanted to do with themselves, and because they didn't know, they figure, hey, why not build bridges and blow them up and drive cars in the bush and chop down trees and do stuff, man stuff in the woods. And that's why they joined the army. They were more of a distraction. They weren't there for the discipline. Yeah, my uniform looked pretty tight and everything looked very good, and I could march, and I was part of the drill team, and it was all good. But people were there hiding from reality. They weren't
Oh
really there
wow,
to
really?
maximize their opportunity with the Department of Defense, so to speak. A lot of the land of misfit toys.
No,
If you
wow.
if you look at who we were back in those days, good
So
guys, but just
yeah.
no direction.
Oh, okay. So how were you able to find your direction when you were amidst some people who didn't have those directions?
Great question. In 1989, I went to a Thanksgiving dinner with what was my best friend at the time, and his brother was there from Toronto, and he said, "You should talk to my brother. He's very much like you. He talks fast. He's got a lot of charisma." He goes, "You guys should talk." Well, we started talking in October 1989, and we haven't stopped talking until today. He's my mentor. He's a great guy. He's been married 45 years. I've been married 32 years. His children and we talk. I talk to them the way he talked to me when I was younger. He's probably one of my best examples of what the husband wife relationship should look like. And he's a great guy. And the reason I live in Mississauga is because he lives in Mississauga.
Oh, wow.
Otherwise, he's had a very, very, very positive influence on my life. And he's like a big brother. He's 17 years older than me. And we sit down and we have conversations. I call him, a week will go by and I say, "Hey, you okay?" He said, "Yeah, you're okay. Good, good, good." And he's very, very good, very, very good guy. And he has a big heart. And my trajectory in Ontario, I owe to him because he showed me some things and told me some things that helped me change my life around.
So why
Good
did
guy.
you choose the IT sector?
IT was because when you're a visible minority, you don't want to go into things that are subjective. I like it. I don't like it. You want things that are objective. 2 plus 2 is 4. TCP/IP is TCP/IP. Ethernet's Ethernet. So, as the most visible of visible minorities, I wanted to put myself in a position where if I have the best product at the best price, regardless of what I look like, you got to take it.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what I sold. So, I sold things that made businesses more secure and allowed you to do business faster, which put money in your pocket. And if you were down, I built resiliency, reducing your risk if something bad did happen. So those were all things that added to the bottom line of companies. So companies were happy to give me the business. Whether they wanted to or not, I had the best product at the best price with the best skills.
Yeah, you just had to monetize whatever skill set you had and downplay on that. And
Correct.
wow, wow, a lot of skills and a lot of things. I, I guess so. University and college, how was? So I guess you got kicked out 'cause you had too much fun. But how was like the organizing the events and stuff?
Yeah. So again, my first attempt at university didn't go very well. My second attempt went better. My first attempt at college didn't go very well. I went into the sciences and that was not for me. I had the aptitude, but not the attitude. Didn't want to be a doctor. I
Yeah,
wanted, I wanted the prestige of being an engineer, but I didn't want to be an engineer. I'd never seen what an engineer had done. But because all my Asian and Caucasian
yeah,
and Jewish friends were going for engineering, and my marks were as good as theirs, I said, well, I should go into engineering. What I should have done was gone to university to become a teacher
yeah. I can see that.
because my first mentor, um, I saw him in Montreal 2 weeks ago. He's in his 90s now. And I told him, I said, "You changed my life. You gave me information and insights on myself, my culture, my ancestry that no one had ever given me to that degree. And it shaped me because I was running on fumes. This is about 4 years after my mother died, and I was doing a lot of my academic excellence in honor of her. But the further and further I got from her death, the harder and harder it was to keep it up because I wasn't doing it for myself. I was doing it for her.
Yeah,
So when I
yeah,
got to college, it finally hit and I crashed and burned because I wasn't in college for myself. I was in college to say that, hey, these kids that came from a single mother are not going to be statistics. We're not going to end up with the police. We're not going to end up with babies that we don't want at that time. We're going to stay straight and narrow. And my sister, my elder sister, is a PhD. She's a professor doing her thing. My younger brother is a software asset guy for the largest bank in Canada, and I'm doing what I do. So we've all, not embarrassed our parents, so to speak.
yeah,
We honor their legacy by doing good things for people in a way that adds value. When I see the comments that I get after a training or after I do something in the community. I see the kind of comments she gets and the notes she gets from her students, and they call her and email her and send her cards about what she's doing. My brother, the same thing. We know that we're doing the right things in the right way for people, uh, even if it's at, we're not putting ourself first. We're putting them first.
yeah. Of course, for sure. Amazing, amazing. And to end off our segment, in your own words, what would you say being limitless means to you?
Well, being limitless is looking at people like yourself who, through no rhyme or reason, have been given a challenge for their life to see if they're going to let it define them or if they're going to use it as a catalyst to become more of who they were supposed to be. Because usually, when you have a deficit in one area of your life, another area of your life takes over. That's why people who are deaf, can see things people can't see. People who can't see can hear things other people can't hear. So when you have a challenge, you need to find what area of life you are being gifted in because they've taken away a gift in one area. So if your physical gift may not be your superpower, but your level of empathy, your level of emotional intelligence, your level of agreeableness, right? When I see you, I smile because you're smiling,
Yeah.
right? And you're happy. So regardless of what's going on in your life. So what makes me limitless is I believe I'm limitless. I think I'm limitless. And I act and speak in alignment with that limitlessness. And that is what most people are afraid or don't know how to do. So
Yeah.
my job is to free my mind of any real or believed shackles that could cause me to be less than I'm supposed to be in my finite time on this planet and put myself in position to help other people do the same. That's
Amazing.
my
Amazing.
gift to the universe, and the universe has given me my gifts to do exactly that.
Amazing. Amazing. And where can our audience or listeners find you or know more about you?
For sure. My website is wayneharrisconsulting.com. Just as you see in my name right here, wayneharrisconsulting.com. And I do discovery calls. My background today, I did a lot of risk management for IT, hardware, software, and infrastructure and applications. Now I do risk management for families and small businesses, and that's building resiliency around you as the breadwinner for your family or the person who is the ATM for their family, male or female, doesn't really matter. We need to build resilience around you so that should something happen to you, your family is left with a legacy of wealth, not a legacy of debt. So WayneHarrisConsulting.com, book me for 30 minutes, say hi, we'll talk, see if my style and approach to financial resilience is to your liking. And if it is, we'd love to work with you. And if not, hey, go find somebody who vibes with you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Wayne, for your
You're
expert.
welcome, Yvonne. Thank
Right.
you.
Bye.
Bye.